drones, part 3, Venezuelan strikes. And now I want to come home and share the types of things that they're willing to do in their own country. And I don't want to be conspiratorial at this time because I don't know what's happening, but I want you to see through, and this is a very sensitive one, but all I will do is tell you the truth as I see it. You may not like the message, but in part 4, I'm going to be covering what's happening at home, what's happening in UK, what's happening in US, my reaction to the Charlie Kirk assassination, what I think comes next after it, and a reminder of what's coming this weekend in the UK as we move to these civil unrest campaigns and the weaponization of assassination in order to politicize different agendas of the proof of weapons network as well. So what I'd like to do is give a little bit of an intro in part 4. So I'm pretty sure everybody that's watching knows what the event is. There was a very graphic, and I saw it in real time on social media once it was shared, where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. People speculate that it was meant to go into his head, and it went into his neck, which created a very graphic that was shared around social media, bloodbath, where people had to publicly watch this. It happened in a university campus in Utah. And as sensitive as this may be, all I can do is tell the truth. Because the reality is that through the narratives that Charlie Kirk perpetuated, the Zionist narratives, for the last 2 years, we've had to watch massive crimes against humanity inflicted upon children, women, and everybody for the last 2 years. And throughout that 2 years, I did not see anybody that subscribes to that ideology mourn any of the children, any of the women, any of the consequences of engaging in a cover-up operation for the proof of weapons network. Whether that be because you were paid, whether that be because there was a business model, whether that be because this is your belief. After 2 years, pretty much everybody that has studied or been involved in this can figure out exactly what's happening with these crimes against humanity. And so the reality is that hundreds of thousands, I believe, once we get to the next phase that I covered in part 1, have been murdered by the proof of weapons network. And in order to allow for that to happen, you had to believe in a narrative that was being pushed called Zionism. And that required lots of people to push out that narrative and manipulate the truth. Those that were engaged in that for the last 2 years have not mourned or shown anything around anybody that has been worse than assassinated. I'm talking about torture. I'm talking about everything. Don't need to go into it because YouTube won't rank it once I say the words that I want to say. At the same time, I'm disgusted by people that would celebrate any type of assassination. I mean, people are celebrating this for political reasons. And that is a really horrible thing to do, because we should not become what the proof of weapons network has become. Whatever your relationship is with your faith, no faith, whatever it may be, we should never find ourselves in a position where we're celebrating an assassination, but at the same time, we should recognize when somebody has been engaged in perpetuating a narrative that justified the death and destruction of hundreds of thousands of people for the proof of weapons network. So because he did not mourn one person, I'm not going to do what's polite. And of course, I would never celebrate. But I just want to recognize that we have been watching a genocide that has been radicalizing people. And the person that assassinated is also a useful idiot for the proof of weapons network. Because if you have been watching social media and if you have been watching the news, you will see nothing but people that decide selectively when to care, if they have the right narrative, the right religion, the right skin color, whatever it may be. They will selectively decide when to be outraged and when they just don't give a damn. And my personal belief is that that dehumanizing impact is something that I've been saying for the last 2 years. How you act, what you ignore is going to come home, because it's all a beta test, as I said. And I've been warning against this. And even if not, you're going to create mental illness in people that I believe was engineered and a part of the plan anyway. The mental illness pandemic, the drug addiction pandemic. This is something that if you study history, we have seen before. And this is something that I think is happening right now. So, I personally believe, and I've seen lots of people that subscribe to Zionist ideology celebrate every time there is a crime against humanity or somebody assassinated. I won't do that. I certainly won't do that. Assassinations are completely wrong. But please understand that this spectacle happened because you were meant to have the reaction that you're having right now. Because this year alone, there were almost 20,000 US deaths this year in a similar type of gun crime or whatever it may be. And you know that all of this is being weaponized and that this is a useful tool for somebody. For somebody to push out a Zionist narrative, Charlie Kirk was useful when he was alive. But for somebody else, and for the same people, he was more useful dead, and they are using it right now. And that's the sickness of the proof of weapons network. The shooter was allegedly arrested today. We had the usual theatrics by the FBI, the same FBI that lies about the Epstein files and engages in a cover-up operation for crimes against humanity, against children, and sexual violence. The same FBI that allows for the distribution of these narcotics. The same FBI that lies and lies and lies and virtual signals and says, we got him. Trump immediately came out and made a speech. And rather than giving a unifying message, he decided to politicize it straight away and say, this is a result of the radical left. And it may be. But who radicalized these people in the first place? Lie after lie, K-shaped economy, operation after operation, a warped version of history that it was pushed by people like Charlie Kirk in order to hide the crimes against humanity that are happening on a daily basis globally, to make people believe something completely different to what is happening. And so Trump used it to rifle up tensions between the right and the radical leftist crazies, as many, many people will be blaming right now and getting really, really angry and seeking revenge for right now. Anyone that was pro-Israel, they came out and said that this was some kind of Muslim Brotherhood operation funded by Qatar and Iran, and that everybody get ready. This is, terrorism by the Muslim Brotherhood, and that that's a great intelligence tool as well. Remember the intelligence of pushing out. Remember my whole video series or the blog series I created. I said they'll take both narratives. Don't think they're taking a side. They want people pushing out the Jew hatred. They want people pushing out the Muslim hatred, and they're more than happy to sacrifice people in order to push what they want to achieve. This is just a weapon. This is just a tool. And so anybody that's pro-Israeli that has been radicalized into that ideology, whether it be evangelical Christians or whether it be the Israel people, they'll push out their narrative. Anybody that has been witnessing the US genocide via his proxy Israel and has subscribed to the narrative that the US would never do this. This is just because we're blackmailed. This is just because we're ruled by the Jews. This is anyone that says we would never do this. They get to say it was Mossad. They get to pick their narrative. They get to push out that this is another example. And they'll push out that, hey, Charlie Kirk in his final weeks was switching away, and there was pushed out that there was messages with Netanyahu, and apparently he was about to change his narrative. You know, they'll push out, and all of them will be going down this rabbit hole, and they'll all be investigating the connections. The truth is never going to come out. They'll do it again. They'll leave you picking the narrative that you want to pick, so you're not looking at the fact that this was an inside. It could be an inside job. And even if it's not an inside job, they'll weaponize it as if it were an inside job because they don't care. Assassinations are useful tools for the proof of weapons network. This is the force that has been created. These are useful tools. And if you think that when they've been doing it for decades and decades and decades abroad, and you've said, because it's not our own, I don't need to worry or care. Well, now, this is what I've been trying to warn people. And sadly, Charlie Kirk was somebody that pushed out that narrative, which is a useful tool to the very same types of people that will utilize the assassin as a useful tool, or if they had nothing to do with it, find that Charlie Kirk was more useful to them dead than alive, because they'll use PR, they'll use clicks, they'll use it to push whatever hate and civil unrest they need. They don't even need a Zionist propagandist anymore. They've already divided and conquered. They've already created the left and right push. They've already done the Jews rule the world conspiracy. They've already revived old Nazi narratives. They've already done the Muslim invasion. They've already done 9/11 wants to take away our freedom. And guess what? We're no longer talking about 9/11 because this happened on its eve. Instead, what they need is reasons to help Palantir profit, because they know that they didn't need to care about your First Amendment right. They never cared about freedom of speech. They allowed us to all talk on X. They allowed us to build our social credit score. They allowed us to have our profile. They are ready to come after anonymous accounts. They are easily going to de-anonymize them. They already got through the Department of Government Efficiency all the data that they needed. They've already been beta testing occupation as a service in the West Bank. They've already been doing genocide as a service in Gaza. They've already done an integration with drones in Ukraine. They've already done crowd control in Saudi Arabia. They've already done a surveillance state and police state in the UK. They've already done that type of control across Europe. They've already done their policy of open borders and then close the border and pretend you're doing mass deportations while you have a privatized prison system and a privatized deportation system and a privatized military deployed everywhere, where everyone they arrest or upset is a dividend, a revenue stream, a way of creating more GDP, a new big beautiful bill, a way of printing more money, creating more inflation, rolling over the debt-based Ponzi scheme. And what do they need? All they need is a spectacle to get everyone angry. And why do you think the assassin waited for the optimum moment to create this severe trauma? It's what they've been doing Whether it's a lone shooter, whether it's coordinated, they just see Charlie Kirk as a useful tool, dead or alive. That's how this network works. Just like Netanyahu used October the 7th for the profits of the military-industrial complex. Just like all the hostages that they stole from Palestine. Just like they don't care about returning the hostages in Gaza right now. They don't care. The assassin, if it was a lone person, he probably thought, I'm going to get that guy, whatever his ideology they didn't like, whether it's be his anti-LGBTQ, whether it's his racial beliefs, whether it's white nationalism, whether it's Orthodox Christianity, evangelical Christianity, whether it's Zionism, whether it's anti-immigration, whatever is enough to get the assassin angry, that is now mentally ill because of the society that has been created by the proof of weapons network, because of these operations, because of this dishonesty, because of this record high mental illness, because of this record high drug addiction, because of this record high wealth inequality, because of injecting with whatever things, because of the food being poisoned, whatever you want to do, all of this insane operations, then all you've done is thinking that you're taking out Charlie Kirk's voice, if that was your goal, and you've amplified it. Because this will be used in order to radicalize people into his ideologies, which are inherently, to the wrong people, hateful. Because Zionism was the justification for the assassinations and massive crimes against humanity that we've been witnessing for the last 2 years, which have been happening for decades, which have been happening from the original genocide of the Native Americans in the first place. This has always been the case. We're just seeing it right now. And that's what they know is coming. They know that people are seeing this. The assassin is just a useful idiot for the proof of weapons network as well. The assassins and the assassinated. And everybody's falling for it. I'm seeing how angry people are getting. I'm feeling it. I'm having to concentrate. I'm having to make sure that I'm trying to get this information out there, because we're going through this shift and people need to get ready for it. Them engineering mental illness. You think this is something that is just happening? It's happening across the West. That's what led to these birth rate record lows. That's why people aren't having children at the moment. It's taken an ideology that essentially engages in ethnic cleansing, death and destruction, and iconized it into evangelical Christianity and Zionism, that is an ideology that takes all three faiths, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, and completely spends out misinformation to weaponize those religions in order to radicalize people so that they can profit from war, death, destruction, destabilization, and resource extraction. And this is just a message. This is just a propaganda tool for them. That's all it is. And you're genuinely angry. You're genuinely upset. That's what they want. The proof of weapons network has always known that divide and conquer is the strategy. It's a tale as old as time. And these are just new strategies for doing it. It creates polarization. It elevates figures that are polarizing. That's why you see the most polarizing figures, either their networks being acquired into these media companies and then being able to use acquisitions to push algorithms through Google, Meta, X for geopolitical, geostrategical routes. And you have these people that have millions of followers because they're playing the click story. They're playing the algorithm story. They're not saying the truth. They're saying what they need to say in order to get the sponsorship deal, that they don't even know where that sponsorship came from. They don't even know if they're working for an operation. They don't even know who they're working for sometimes. But they know what they need to say in order to get that large following, in order to push out that narrative. And then at a certain point, you become a part of it. And who knows, maybe if you decide to leave, maybe if you decide to tell the truth, maybe if you discover the truth, at that point, you become more useful dead than alive. That's what I think happened. I'm not going to speculate on why it happened, how it happened. I'm just going to tell you what I think is happening and how it's going to be used. We'll find out more. And everyone's going to spend a lot of time trying to figure it out and attach it to their radicalized ideology that is a useful tool. So, the proof of weapons network exploits tragedy. It uses it to manufacture consent. And now it's being used in order to do the very same command and control technology that you said you would never have in your country because you believe in Western values. It was Western values in the West that were used completely, that weren't used rather, outside of the West. And you ignored them for other people. We all ignored them to a certain degree. And now, whether it's karma, whatever it is, it's coming back. We need to be aware of that. We need to be aware when they're monetizing chaos. Are we helping them monetize chaos? Sometimes we can't help it to get our message out, but are we a useful idiot, or are we recognizing what they're doing here? Are we supporting the politicians? Are the politicians working for us, or are they working for the Proof of Weapons Network? Are we providing media clicks, or are we providing useful that tries to recognize what's happening? I know what I'm trying to do. Some people will see that as me doing the same. But are we committed to actually doing what we're meant to be doing here? Or have you become so radicalized that you can't see what they're doing? And now you're going to be a prophet for a security company to implement some kind of pre-crime contracts, some military operation. Kirk was a product of that system, and so was the assassin as well. There was a needed demand in order to create division, and he bought into an ideology of division. And that's the tragedy of all this whole thing. It's the tragedy of the situation, and that we only really care when it comes home, when we could have got ahead of it. We could have just said that we won't allow this to happen outside of our country. We're going to commit to the information. We're going to escape the misinformation. And that's why I've always tried to follow the money and help people understand what's really happening. And you get attacked. You get called a conspiracy theorist. It's what happens. If you're going to be going out there and you think that you're in a place right now where you think assassinating somebody is a good idea, any copycat, anything like that, it's not a resistance. What you're doing is not resisting at all. You're actually becoming a tool for the very same force that you think you're resisting against. Because violence, I call it proof of weapons. Weapons weaponize everything, integrated into the operating system of how it works. I always use the Bitcoin analogy. You become a node operator for violence and weaponization. Now, what are they going to do? Anytime you try and criticize any ideology, a lot of people are going to be very upset that I criticize Charlie Kirk's ideology. You're going to say that's disrespectful. Some people in the comments are going to say that's disgusting, that's disrespectful. That's what they wanted. And that's what this does. Any type of tragedy, like they will utilize it. It's going to be a tool for censorship. So we're going to be censored into speaking out against that ideology. And we're going to be ushering in through hate and manipulation the very same surveillance state. So what I want to do is I just want to give, before we go through to the final operations of what's happening, I want to do a bit of a AI summary. This is the final one of Bitcoin Hard Talk episode 97, where I'm going to be releasing all of these blogs next week. And it gives a little bit of an AI summary in case I didn't articulate it in the right way of what we're going to be covering so that you can try and recognize it. So let's do the Charlie Kirk assassination AI summary, the fourth and final one, Azad, please.
Welcome to the deep dive, where we cut through the noise. Today, well, we're plunging into a pretty provocative analysis from Simon Dixon.
The Bitcoin OG. He often has these sharp takes on finance and politics.
Exactly. This one's called Charlie Kirk's Assassination and the Proof of Weapons Network. And it offers a, let's say, starkly different view on political violence.
It really does. It asks you to move way beyond the usual reactions.
So our goal today is to give you a quick but thorough overview of Dixon's core arguments, especially this concept he calls the Proof of Weapons Network.
Yeah, what Dixon's analysis suggests is, well, it's really something. He's basically saying events like Kirk's assassination, they aren't system failures.
Not failures. So what then?
He sees them as like integral parts of how a larger system operates, a system almost designed to create chaos and then profit from it.
Wow. Okay, so it's called to look much deeper than the headlines.
Precisely. Beyond the immediate shock and news cycle.
Okay, let's unpack this. What's fascinating here is how this analysis frames the event itself. The assassination of Charlie Kirk in Utah.
Right.
Because I remember the initial confusion. People were asking, is this real? Is this some kind of stunt?
That initial ambiguity is interesting in itself. But once it was confirmed as real...
Then Dixon's argument comes in, which is quite counterintuitive.
It really is. He argues Kirk's death, while obviously real and tragic, was actually less about silencing him and more about amplifying him.
Amplifying him? How does that work?
Well, Dixon puts it bluntly. It delivered a gift to the power structure.
A gift?
Yeah. Think about it. Kirk is described in the analysis as a mediocre but dangerous polemicist. Now, suddenly, he's sanctified.
Meaning you can't criticize his ideas anymore.
Exactly. Any criticism instantly becomes disrespect for the dead. Dixon sees this shift in perception as absolutely central to how the system works.
That's a chilling way to think about how events get leveraged.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about understanding the immediate impact, doesn't it? And this idea, amplifying through death, it brings us right to his main concept, the Proof of Weapons Network. Now, knowing Dixon's background, Bitcoin, blockchain, that name isn't accidental, is it?
Not at all. It's a deliberate echo of proof of work.
Right.
The idea seems to be that acts of violence, the weapons, act like the work in crypto. They are the proof that validates and strengthens the network's control.
Okay, so what is this network, according to Dixon? How does it function?
He describes it as a machine designed to create division, amplify fear, and profit from chaos. Simple as that, almost.
A machine for chaos.
Pretty much. And he says it operates in 3 basic steps. First, create polarization, fund and boost figures like Kirk to deepen societal divides.
Okay, step 1, divide people.
Step 2, exploit tragedy. Turn these deaths into powerful symbols that justify expanding control.
So more surveillance contracts, maybe more censorship.
You got it. More policing, militarization, all justified by the tragedy. And step 3 is monetize chaos.
Monetize it.
Well, the media gets clicks, politicians get platforms, the security state gets bigger budgets, all fueled by fear, division, and these endless cycles of violence. It's a loop.
A self-sustaining loop that benefits those inside it.
That's the picture he paints.
So it's easy to see someone like Kirk as the enemy in this scenario. But Dixon flips that, doesn't he? Was Kirk the antagonist here?
No, Dixon's very clear. Kirk was not the enemy. He argues Kirk was a product of the system.
A product, meaning?
Meaning his rhetoric wasn't some original disruptive force. It was supplied to meet a demand manufactured by the state corporate security apparatus.
Wow. So the system created the need for figures like him.
That's the implication. And tragically, his killer, whether they realized it or not, also becomes another asset of the same network.
Because they reacted to the polarization the network created.
Exactly. They end up serving its agenda. The net effect, Dixon says. Always. More power to the apparatus, more justification for repression, and another diversion away from the real issues.
Which leads to this really stark conclusion. Political violence isn't a system breakdown.
It is the system.
That's profound and deeply unsettling.
It is. Dixon calls it the fire state we're in, a system that constantly feeds on itself, where violence is the business model, essentially, the business model of empire turning inward, as he puts it.
So if that's the case, how should we react to events like this?
Well, this is maybe the most challenging part. The analysis advises against both celebrating and mourning these deaths publicly.
Neither? Wow.
Because, Dixon argues, both feed the same narrative machine. The emotional reactions are what the system thrives on.
So it's left.
He says the only strategic response is indifference to the spectacle and clarity about the system. Focus on the underlying structure, not the drama.
Indifference to the spectacle, clarity about the system. That's a powerful takeaway. Simon Dixon's analysis really forces you to reframe these political events, not isolated incidents.
But orchestrated moves within this larger self-serving system, profiting from conflict. The proof of weapons network, as he calls it, just keeps consolidating control, one bullet and one broadcast at a time. His point is, you need to look at the real system, not just its outputs, however shocking they are.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, our listener?
Well, I guess it leaves you with a pretty big question, doesn't it? If political violence is the system, like this analysis suggests, what does genuine resistance even look like, or real understanding? How do you see past the spectacle?
Something to definitely think about long after this deep dive ends.
Okay. I hope the AI didn't misinterpret anything that I tried to say. I hope you can see the difficulty in trying to express what I feel is the appropriateness of what is happening. And I'm trying to push a message that I think helps us all rather than us all become tools. And so the lesson I'd like to leave you through before we go through what's happening in the UK and we wrap up, this is the last part of Bitcoin Hard Talk episode 97, where we haven't discussed Bitcoin. We covering all of the craziness that's happening in the geopolitical environment at the moment. The lesson is that political violence is not really a system failure. This isn't something that they didn't want to happen. This is actually the business model. This is actually how you weaponize violence. This is actually how you move towards control. And this will happen again. And everyone met so many people that you will see just lying to you time and time again. The very same FBI and CIA and politicians and Biden administration, Trump administration, Keir Starmer's, Labour, Conservative, they all work for the same network. They all work not for the people. They work for the companies that pay their bills. And you need to figure out how to beat that network without becoming such an idiot, a useful idiot, that you end up saying it's the radical left that is the reason for all my problem. It's those far right crazies, racists, that's the reason for all my problem. It's that Muslim invasion. It's because the Jews rule the world. It's all of these different things. It's LGBTQ, which is the problem here. All of these different identity politics that they are weaponizing through violence right now, because this is what they have built up to. So my message to you is, don't be a useful idiot, either as an assassin or somebody that's going to be assassinated because you're indirectly marketing the agenda of the proof of weapons network, and suddenly you're no longer useful to them, or you build such a position where they would rather use you. You are more useful to them dead than alive. That's what I think has happened with Charlie Kirk. And it's working. But how many people can we get together to make sure it doesn't work on them? So just like Tommy Robinson is manufacturing as a useful idiot or a paid tool whatever you want to pick. There's more than enough evidence for you to pick whatever. And there's more than enough ambiguity to take you down your theory, as it's being propped up by Elon Musk, who is a vital part of the machine of the technical industrial complex, with his major shareholders being BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. And just as Netanyahu decided to use Charlie Kirk's death to say everybody should stand by Israel and agree to more genocide, more death and destruction, because he's a useful tool for the military industrial complex. And just as Larry Fink goes and meets with Keir Starmer, with Sam Altman and and other people that are negotiating with other sovereign wealth funds, and they'll tell you about they won't tell you, but they'll construct the next deal of the financial industrial complex. Don't be a useful idiot, is my message to you. The final part I wanted to remind you of, as we covered it in depth a couple of weeks ago, is that the UK civil unrest campaign and the immediate impact that came after the last campaigns around Palantir's sales strategy and Palantir's tactics and its increase in share price as a result of people deciding to profit from their destruction rather than become a shareholder activist and boycott it. So September the 10th was the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. September the 11th was the operation 24 years ago that created all of those profits for the military industrial complex, that was a useful tool that created all these religious tensions that weren't there before, that manufactured all of this civil unrest, that led to the death and destruction of millions, that radicalized Americans in order to think that they were doing it to get revenge for the very type of operation. And so more and more people this year were going to be willing to listen to the truth about September the 11th than ever before. More and more people know about the inconsistencies with the CIA, with Mossad, with the dancing Israelis, with the other intelligence network, with the connections. The whole thing is about to blow itself so that people understand it. And September the 11th this year was going to be that day. But what did we do? We're all discussing who shot Charlie Kirk instead. Today is September the 12th. And instead of learning about these operations, we're listening to the FBI as they theatrically say, we got it. And we're meant to believe them, that this was the person. And then all the politicians around them say, see, it was that radical left. See, it was that transsexual. See, it was that Mossad operative. See, it was the Russians. It was the Chinese. See, it was everyone. It was Mossad. It was Israel. It was the Jews. Pick your poison. The algorithm will tell you what you want. And tomorrow is September the 13th. And as a reminder, Charlie Kirk is being used as a weapon to get more people angry and out in the streets of the UK, in London, to want to honor Charlie Kirk for his Zionism. And there are going to be a counter protest from people that want to honor and stop a genocide. And those two people are going to get incredibly angry when even intelligence operative comes in and deliberately disrespects Charlie Kirk and disrespects the genocide. And you're going to be a useful idiot for manufacturing the violence, whether it comes from yourself because you're so angry or it comes from the operatives. Remember, that's what they want. And there's no stopping it. You just got to be aware of it. It's definitely going to happen. if you can't recognize the pattern right now, it's part of the operation. And so September the 13th is going to be a key milestone in Palantir's UK contract to manufacture civil unrest and roll out the playbook that is about to come to America and the rest of the region, and is already being done everywhere. It's engineered. What is going to be the result of this? Well, it's going to be proactive policing. They're going to use Elon's social credit score or Thiel's technology. It's going to be additional surveillance. It's going to be Patriot Act 2.0. It's going to be contracts sold based off fear. It's going to be a digital ID. We've already been told that we need a digital ID for immigrants until they make one for you. It's going to be a central bank digital currency, or they're going to make you think that you're maintaining your freedom in America by having a stable coin that just does the same thing, but for private interests. It's going to be tokenized everything, tokenized water, tokenized real world assets. It's going to be what BlackRock decided that they want to do as you buy your carbon credit score in order to have these command and control systems that are integrated. It's going to be unrest packaged as another profit stream to prop up the dollar while we move into this multipolar world. And we just need to recognize it. There's no stopping this train at this point. And you need to figure out how to protect yourself and the ones that you love. All of the logic that justified all of the wars abroad are being used right now in America, in UK, in Europe. It's the same reason why Qatar was bombed by Israel, as we covered in part 1. It's the same reason why Poland is sending 40,000 troops to its border right now, and it was droned with 19 drones as an escalation to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. It's the same reason why Venezuela was striked, and you were led to believe that this is something to do with narcotics and stopping or some kind of war on drug within America. It's the same reason why Charlie Kirk was assassinated. You got to see the bigger picture. It's to progress this operation. It's to create useful idiots. The US is going to be a technocracy under the proof of weapons network. Zionism and all these different narratives were the mechanism for getting you there. It's a regime. There's no doubt about it. And what did we get as an announcement, as a reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination? Let me read out the executive order. Trump has signed an executive order delivering War Secretary Pete Hegseth to create a standing National Guard quick reaction force, a domestic military unit that has been trained, resourced, and ready for rapid nationwide deployment to support law enforcement in quelling any civil unrest disturbances. Under the order, Hegseth must designate Guard members in every single state, ensure that they are trained and equipped, and make them available for mobilization at the president's direction. There's no stopping this train. You just got to stop believing the narrative and the bullshit that they're telling you. Don't make them proof of weapons network great again. The only thing you can do is make yourself great again and the people around you and look after your community. So here's my idea. How about this weekend, you take some of that rage that you may feel that might turn you into a useful idiot, and you decide to spend the weekend figuring out how to protect yourself and actually try and boycott some of the machine and build some personal sovereign. We got a few years, I think, as we go through this, but don't let that stop you. Don't be a useful idiot. On my blog, again, no sponsorship, no agenda, no business model, no monetization on my YouTube channel, no go there and any of this stuff. I'm putting out content because Bitcoin gave me the freedom to be able to do this. I didn't need Silicon Valley to bring me into a vassalized business. I didn't go public to be a useful tool for the military industrial complex. I left a country that's currently being vassalized by BlackRock. I prepared for 10 years. I tried to get myself money I can own, money that I could spend, money that has a fixed supply, so I could wealth my way out of it. I tried to bring as many people as possible with me for as many years as possible and create as much content as possible. And so another attempt on my blog, simondixon.com, I've put a 5-part video series that, or a 5-part blog series. I called it preparing yourself in a world of crypto, AI, and central bank digital currencies. I say crypto because you need to protect yourself from crypto. And Bitcoin is the mechanism for doing it. It's the best mechanism I know how. It's not the whole solution. It's the best one I know that people should be doing. And so I think Azad's going to put on the screen, I'll just show you. If you go to simondixon.com and you go to the blog, part 1, what I'd love for you to do is, rather than being a useful idiot for the military industrial complex in a civil unrest campaign and a surveillance state, they've won. Why don't you stay in and actually learn how to protect yourself instead? Because it ain't going to get pretty. It's up to you to make your decisions. I just want you to be more knowledgeable in the decisions that you make. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what I'm doing, and I can try and share with you as much as possible. So part 1 in that blog series was called Why is there so much immigration in the West? And is the Muslim invasion real? Try and understand that despite your narrative, despite what you're seeing. Part 2 was a blog and the stats on, do Jews really rule the world? These are the 2 predominant narratives. You're obviously being put, the left and the right one is so obvious, the radical left and the far right, racist or whatever, all of that, those narratives are just obvious. Now, what I also created in part 3 is what I believe to be the proof of weapons network endgame and what plan they're taking us towards. It would be useful to figure out whether that's a conspiracy theory, why it's called a conspiracy theory, and why don't you go through that video, that blog, where I put together what I think their endgame is. In part 4, I created a blog post called Endgame Gaza, the beta test for global control systems. This is actually a leaked plan by Tony Blair that goes through exactly what they want to rebuild after those war zones. I think it's useful to know what they're trying to do over there so you understand what they're going to want to do over here. So I created a blog on it with a video, with a TLDR AI summary, whatever tools we could put together in order to try and get there. And part 5, we put it together a blog called How to Protect Yourself with Bitcoin and Self-Custody Before It's Too Late. A guide to self-custody. That's with myself and somebody else from the Bitcoin community I respect called Andreas Antonopoulos. This used to be a part of a course that customers would get, but we want to make it available to anybody on simondixon.com that's a completely free member of the Bitcoin Hard Talk membership portal. And why don't you learn how to self-custody? Because once you know how to self-custody, once you understand how to become more sovereign, Once you understand how to protect yourself, you can boycott an essential part of the US dollar proof of weapons network, which is the Federal Reserve. You can boycott it by owning Bitcoin. Beat the inflation cycle historically, designed that no central bank can change it. You can boycott BlackRock by owning it in self-custody and learn how to self-custody. Rather than giving your Bitcoin to them to own it for you, so you give them more power, you can be a part of this two-tier that I've talked about. Bitcoin in Wall Street and Bitcoin in self-custody. You want to be in Bitcoin in self-custody. You can also boycott the banks by not falling for their financial weapons of mass destruction, where they want you to put your Bitcoin with them so you can borrow against it. And I know how that feels. I've got direct experience when I messed around with those financial weapons of mass destruction in 2021. So why don't you learn from my experience and not borrow against your Bitcoin, or at least understand how to risk manage it? And if they don't create debt, fiat currency debt, but using your Bitcoin as collateral, then you can boycott the banks as well. Why don't you learn how to boycott the proof of weapons network institutions by actually focusing on what is my investment strategy for investing local, investing in community, building my wealth so maybe I can participate in lobby because the government don't care about my vote. Maybe I can become an activist investor. Maybe I can become more aware around what is in my pension. Maybe I can decide to spend local. Maybe I can figure out what proof of weapons network institutions I want to boycott. Now, it's not going to be perfect. I would love to boycott certain institutions, but I need to be productive. But it's about becoming more conscious. And so by owning your money and directing the flow of your money rather than have somebody direct it for them, through using a banking institution, using asset managers, maybe you have a part of your portfolio where you can decide. Maybe it's time to learn that rather than being a useful idiot for the profits of a violent proof of weapons network. Maybe you actually want to decide to relocate. I understand that that's a big decision for many. I understand that people have children. But maybe you actually want to investigate what are the best places to be. Maybe I live on the wrong side of the proof of weapons network. Maybe my government has been committing crimes against humanity while I call it the greatest country in the world and the beacon of peace. Maybe I'm asking for God to bless my own country while it's committing a genocide in another country. Maybe I want to work on my spiritual beliefs. What if I actually decided that I wanted to serve humanity rather than just a particular segment while we're committing crimes against humanity? This is the journey we're going through. This is all I know how to do. And what if you decided to help more people? If this message resonates with you, maybe it will resonate with other people. I know my messages will be offensive for some, polarizing for some, but I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to help you see what they're doing, what this proof of weapons network works, why I got so passionate for 25 years when I was in the proof of weapons network, working investment banking, working as a manipulator of the market, as a market maker, working as a stockbroker, gaining more power for the proof of weapons network. Why I exited the system in 2006, became a monetary reformer to try and help people understand how this system worked. Why that led me to Bitcoin after my father lost all of his money because he was investing before the dot-com boom and bust. This is why I ended up getting involved in all the things. Everything I'm telling you to do were the things that I did. And so I'm telling you from direct experience. And I want more and more people to experience what I've been blessed with. And I'll keep doing that because the reality is today that there is a two-tiered world. You are alive at one of the most interesting and exciting times in financial history. Most people are getting wrecked. Others are doing well. And all I know what to do is make sure that you get on the right side of that change. And if you'd like to support me, if you're enjoying that, I will continue to do this with no sponsorship. no monetization, no anything. And all I ask for you is, if you're not a subscriber of the channel, please do subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We've now got over 100,000 subscribers. If you would like to engage in real time and ask questions, come follow me on X. I go up on Spaces regularly. You can come up and ask a question. If you would like to help me combat when YouTube takes me out, if they take me out, I'm not sure. Whatever the plan is, I back up on X, and I also back up on Rumble. I got a small following over there. Please allow me to get a big following on Rumble to match my YouTube, because I'm not sure how YouTube's going to allow to continue. But I'll share the message as long as I do. So look up Simon Dixon on Rumble. If you listen to podcasts and you'd rather download these bit by bit and do it as you're in the gym, when you're traveling in the car, then go to Apple Podcasts and look up Bitcoin Hard Talk and subscribe and follow me there. You'll get a notification every time I release a new video or go live. If you're an Android user, do it on Spotify. If you don't want to use any of those systems, head over to simondixon.com. And I publish the podcast over there in case all of those centralized systems take me out. If you would like to not be a useful idiot for the military industrial complex, why don't you decide to watch that 5-part blog series and get a free login to the Bitcoin Hard Talk membership portal, learn how to self-custody and put together a plan to make yourself great again. Because I'm telling you, don't make the proof of weapons network great again, and your politicians are not going to make your country great again, because they're fully controlled by the proof of weapons network, and they are agents of deceit. And it's got nothing to do with the radical left or the far right or any of this BS. And no, Jews don't rule the world, and Muslims are not the reason for all these problems. The demographic change was engineered, it was created, and it was designed to make you feel the way that you feel right now. We got the system we got, and all we can do is boycott and combat it. And that's all I got for you. So I hope you enjoyed Bitcoin Hard Talk episode 97. I'll try and break up, and the team and Azad will break up these videos with the team into as much resources as we can put together, so you can share them with as many people as possible in whatever medium makes it as easy as possible, short, long, whatever. We're trying our best, but do please put some comments below and let me know what you'd like to see and how we can help in more ways, and what you've learned from this, because I will read those comments and I reply wherever I can. I want to do this with peace, love, and unity. I don't see it happening. I'm following the money. I'm telling you what I believe to be the truth. And if it turns out not to be the truth, I'll tell you once I figured that one out as well. I'll see you this time next week for Bitcoin Hard Talk episode 98. Hopefully we'll get back to this week in Bitcoin, this week in macro, this week in geopolitics. And hopefully I won't have too many drones, bombs, assassinations, escalations to cover, where I can't cover what I originally came here to do, which was help people follow the money so that they can improve their life. Thank you. I'll see you this time next week. Peace.